It's funny, too, because, everybody thinks we're out on the road partying, but we're really in a Days Inn at 2 a.m. after a show.
Looking at the lines of Nazca. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always think we're having fun. It's like, no, we're just getting weird alone.
100%. Cheers.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. There's so much you can do with a website. And first of all, let's just establish that you need a website. I don't care what you do. If you do reflexology, if you paint portraits of people, if you design magnets for refrigerators, you need a website. It's insane. I think you're absolutely insane if you don't have a website. You turn your idea into a website, showcase your work. Maybe you're a photographer. Maybe you make rings or necklaces. You need to have a place to show this stuff and sell it. Luckily for you, there are powerful e-commerce functionality tools that let you sell anything online, and Squarespace has it all. Analytics that'll help you grow in real time, 24/7 award-winning customer support, and these designs are fantastic. You'll think that you paid somebody $50,000 to design it, but you didn't. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code BEARS to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com. Enter the code word BEARS. It is so good to not look at a shirtless, bloated mess.
There he is.
There he is.
It's amazing he's still alive.
It really is. I wonder what the insurance was like before he went on this film, because they always give you, if you're starring in a movie, even if you're just actually in the cast, you go get a physical and they're like, is this guy about to die?
Yeah.
And then it affects the insurance of the production, and like that had to be a pretty pricey.
I know, but it's so annoying because he would kill that physical, and that's why you're like,
I know,
motherfucker.
Yeah.
What's going on? That's why I'm worried he's going to drop dead or something.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a shock.
Yeah.
But then it won't be, because you'll be like, oh yeah, he was supposed to be dead for a while.
That funeral's going to be weird. Like, we knew. That's going to be the eulogy.
Yeah, you'll be like, I spent a lot of time with him, and I always thought he was going to be dead.
Yeah. It's annoying. It's like the guy, who doesn't gain weight. He eats at the buffet.
Yeah.
He eats ass. He eats pussy. Never gains weight. And then, he's just always skinny. He's that guy with booze and career.
Right. That guy's really, the skinny guy is so fucking, and I have an uncle who has, like, I don't know the weight, but it's got to be like 160, and he's in his 70s. He's never gained weight like his entire life, and runs and everything. He just had like a heart procedure, and he was like, I don't understand how I could have any problem with my heart, and you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess it can still happen to you,
right? Okay, so he did have a problem.
Well, he had a problem, I guess, with his arteries, but he's like, but I'm physically fit, so what the fuck,
Every fat guy's like,
yeah, we're all celebrating.
Yeah. How about the guy who's like, I smoked every day. I ate eggs and bacon for breakfast. I lived to 104.
That guy I kind of admire.
I do too.
Because I know that I can't be him. I mean,
right.
It's all like a genetic thing. So one of my friend's granddads, he lived to 96, drank, smoked cigars, ate red meat, like just ate and lived like a savage. 96.
Wow.
Fine.
Pretty good.
But I mean, that's a genetic advantage, I think. It's not that, what I mean? Like, there was a guy on one of these Good Morning America shows. He was 104, one of those things where like, we're going to visit an old as fuck guy.
Yeah.
And then they go...
Brought to you by Smuckers.
Yeah, they're like, what's the secret? And he was like, I eat ice cream every day. And you're like, all right. Yeah. Great.
One day I want to see one of those where the guy's like, I'm black.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why I'm living so long.
Well, this guy was black.
Yes!
I mean, I don't know, because I feel like somebody watches that and they're like, oh, ice cream. And it's like, yeah, for him, not for you.
Exactly.
Like if I ate ice cream every day, I'd be like, I'm 57, I'm on dialysis because I eat ice cream every day.
I know. I mean, I don't get weird and change it, but that kid who could just draw?
Yeah.
He just would do it and it looked right. And you're like, how do you do that? And then you draw it and you look like a weirdo special, you're like Michael J. Fox, with a crayon. And you're like, how do you just draw it? No lesson, no nothing.
It's one of the skills that I have most been like floored by and admired, and you go like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
Especially in grade school when you're like, oh, you're not like a refined, trained kid. Because the person I was closest to, my cousin, Brian, who's born 2 weeks after me, we did everything together. It's like a natural thing where he's like, would draw a dragon, and you're like, oh my God.
How did you know to do that and have the perception with the depth and all that shit? It blows
or have
my
you
mind.
seen people go, like, sometimes fans will draw you, and a guy did one of those videos, like those, the time-lapse video.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's just looking at a picture of me, and then the whole thing, and I'm like, how do you do that? Like,
that's bananas.
I can't do it.
Can't do it. Or this. Now we're getting real deep into YouTube and Adderall. But you ever see the guy who like just throws a splash of paint and he's doing weird shit with like a knife?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is it? And then he pulls back and it's a tiger.
Yeah.
With all the stripes and all the detail and the whiskers, and you go, what the fuck?
Or dude, have you ever seen like it in like a farmland thing where you can
Crop
only
circle?
see, but like you can, it's either a phrase or it's a drawing of something, but you can only see it from like a fucking plane.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how would you know where to turn?
Right.
And
Yes.
The craziest ones are the lines of Nazca. Have you seen that in Peru?
No.
The lines of Nazca. So it's Nazca, I think. So these are like world famous. I think that's how you spell it. Yeah. But look at the images. So like,
wow.
right? And then these have been there for I don't know how long, but like how the fuck? How is
real?
How is that?
How the
in
hell
the
do
earth?
you do that? They have a different brain, these people.
And you can only see that from the air.
I know. So they don't even get the reveal or the satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
and I've seen like the ones in like here in you'll go to Iowa and it's just like fucking go Hawkeyes. And you're like, but how did you do it?
How did you do it? But now at least you can type it in as some spreadsheet or whatever app that makes it work. But this is thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And everybody probably thought this guy was a kook and a witch and a weirdo. And look at that.
Yeah, I went and saw these once in like a small plane and nearly vomited.
Yeah.
And my dad.
That's what black people think we do as white people. Like, oh yeah, we do this. We get on a small plane. We check these out. It's free.
Yeah. I mean, that's some white people shit.
Yeah.
Dude, so we took off in a confiscated drug plane.
Oh wow.
From Lima, and we fly over here. And my dad and my girlfriend at the time were with me, and it's a small plane. And so like as we're on the approach to see this, my dad's like, I gotta pee. And I was like, didn't you pee before we took off? He's like, yeah, I gotta go again. So I gotta tell the pilots, I'm like, hey, the old guy's gotta piss. And they're like, come on. So they had to land in an airfield and get an oil can. And they're like, piss in this, man.
It's funny too, because everybody thinks we're out on the road partying, but we're really in a Days Inn at 2 a.m. after a show.
Looking at the lines of Nazca. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always think we're having fun. It's like, no, we're just getting weird alone.
I know you don't really read DMs.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of new to this whole success thing, and it's going well, and I read everything because I'm scared to lose one fan.
Uh-huh.
And it's just some guy like, if you want to get a beer before the show, I can show you my knife collection, and I have a snake. Let me know. Here's my address. And you're like, who would do this?
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, do you know what I think the craziest one of those is? Hey, man, I saw that you're coming to Salt Lake. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, do you want to stay with me?
Oh.
And you're like, what?
That's a big one.
Like, do I want to stay with you? And they're like, yeah, I got an extra room. Like, no, dude. First of all, I don't know you.
You're right.
And you don't think there's a hotel involved in my travels?
Yeah. Like, you start to feel bad for women because you're like, oh, this is what they deal with from dudes.
Yeah, yes.
And we're doing it, and it's not even sexual. It's just weirdo.
Yeah, it's weirdo. Yeah, and so look, sometimes there's ladies who are like, do you want to stay at my place? And you're like, but no.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I know. How do you tell a woman, like, I want to put a dick in your vagina and then leave after?
I think you just did it.
Oh, okay.
That's the way to do it.
But they think we want to do other stuff. You're like, that's all I really want.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm wired. That's how I'm wired. I'm a human being male.
Do you always split after?
Well, I'm dating a gal. I'm seeing a gal now, but I would always go to their house because you got to get out of there.
You got to get out.
But when they're at your house, they're like, should I make breakfast or should we, color or whatever?
Yeah.
And do a puzzle? I'm like, a puzzle?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I used everything I had to get you naked, like charm-wise. I'm checked out. I'm bankrupt.
I'm totally out of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I always say women should have to hit on us after sex. Because we bring the heat. We're doing stories and jokes and trying to get, charming and all that. And then we go back to your house. We have sex. It's amazing. And then men want to leave, and this is when you should have to be like, all right, what's your sign?
Yeah.
You know, like, what's your favorite movie? Because we did it, now we want to leave, and now you're in our shoes.
Yeah, take over. You take the lead now.
over.
Yeah. You saw what I did this whole time.
Yes.
And I'm literally out of cum. I don't have any left.
I'm out.
That's all my juice. That's my power. That's my inspiration is gone.
Yeah. Right. And they're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I got nothing. You come up with something.
Yeah.
I used everything I had over there.
Yeah, I think we should put this message out there more. Ladies, it's time to step it up.
Step it up after. After, because you had a free ride before, because the guy was like, hey, let's get dinner. What do you do for a living? Here's a funny story about that. Here's a joke. Now it's your turn.
Yeah. I remember, by the way, the one time that I got picked up by a chick in New York. It was on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
And she came over. I'm with a friend, and these two girls, cute, came over, sat on our laps, and they're like, you guys are cute. And we were like,
wow,
okay.
It's that easy.
Dude, it was so amazing. They took us back to their place. They had like some fucking 3-bedroom, like nice midtown apartment.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. I go in with this girl. He goes in with the other girl. We have sex. I know, this is amazing.
Were they in a blackout? I mean,
No,
it's St. Patty's.
It's St. Patty's. No, they were like, here's the funny part was, I can't believe it's happening. Because I didn't try to do this. Usually my life was like trying, right?
You get one of these in life,
Dude,
and this is yours.
Well, this is how it ends up. So we have sex. It's not amazing, but it's, it's sex.
Sure.
And then when we were done, we're like laying there in her bed, and she's like, whatever. And I start saying something. I don't remember what I said, but I'm like, yeah, did you see, the blah, blah, blah. And she goes, you don't have to talk. And I was like, what? And then I go, okay. And I went to sleep. And then the next morning, she was like, yeah, I'm making some eggs if you want them. And I was like, okay. And then it was like, then I run into my friend in their, I'm like, how was your night? He's like, I got blown like 3 times. How about you? I was like, I fucked her. I don't know. He's like,
this is Woman of the Year.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Fuck Caitlyn Jenner. This is it.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But like, that is one of those, it was never like that any other time.
Yeah, of course. Never again. But this is up there with like when the hillbilly's like, they took me up on a spaceship and they put a probe up my ass, and you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm still not sure if I believe you.
Yeah.
This is too crazy.
Well, what I realized like afterwards, I was like, oh, she went out the way that we normally go out.
Right.
Which was like, I want to get laid. And that was like, I think that was like, just like her mission for the night. Like, I want to get laid. Got laid and was like, you can shut the fuck up now.
Wow. But it's so, why don't women do this more often? Because it would just,
I don't know.
You'd have a 99% hit rate.
I know. It would. You would absolutely have the high hit rate. But I guess like this lady was like more comfortable just going after what she wanted. A lot of people, a lot of women want to play the game, right? It's got to be like, well, she was just like, here's what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I was a lady, I guess that's just not what they're into. They want the foreplay and the flirty. But man, that is just so. It's like being gay for a minute. You were treated like a gay guy when that was a gay dude, and you got picked up.
That's why we just know that gays have it the best.
Glory holes are socially distant.
Dude,
there's no face.
There's like, I have a friend in New York who's gay, and he said that like, oh yeah, I'm going to the park right now to just meet somebody. I'm like,
that's incredible.
I'm like, that's incredible,
man.
I'm like, and I would tell him like, you realize this never, like, this can't happen.
Yeah.
For us, like,
no, it just can't. And you see, I'm jealous. Like the homophobia, I don't understand, because I'm like, what a great life.
The best.
You're at a rest stop and you're like, I'm gonna get a Snickers and a head, and then go back in the car and drive 6 hours.
And he was married to another guy.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, what is your husband? He's like, he knows what's like, we're the same. We need to fuck.
That's why AIDS was invented. Just to have a payback.
Yep.
We got to win somewhere.
For your awesome fucking lifestyle, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Magic Johnson's still living.
Crazy.
He beat Kobe. All right, unlike him, that joke landed. All right, we're having fun. Suck it, Ari. That's a Kobe joke that got laughs, you fucking heeb.
Stupid Ari.
I know, yeah. Drug yourself, bitch. All right. Sorry, that's like 4 years old.
So, no, he deserves it. Give it to him. So, Speaking of New York and all the gays and everything there.
Yeah, a lot of gays.
You live there now. Do you feel like, because there's major exodus, like I'm leaving here. A lot of people have left. New York too. People are leaving New York.
Definitely. Big dent.
In the cards for you think, or no?
I don't know, man. It's scary. I just love New York so much, and I got a cool apartment. I own a place there, and
it's addictive. It's an addictive place to live.
It is, and like I love LA, but like I feel like LA's a visit town.
Yeah.
Same with Austin. Austin's so fun. Sorry, a little saving.
Yeah, let it out.
But I live in New York, and I go to these fun places. But I like New York because you can't. I don't know. You can't slow down there, and I kind of need that. I'm a lazy guy. I'm a drinker. I'm a douche. So like New York kicks you back up, and I need that.
Yeah.
I go in the woods. Like people are like, I got this great house. It's a chalet in Utah. It's up in Park City, and I'm like, I go, this is beautiful. But then I sit there for 8 minutes, and I go, I want to kill myself.
Yeah.
And I need that constant movement, and that's why I like New York.
I get that because I've always lived in, or like chased living in a city.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I need city life. Like
Same.
Those vacations are fun sometimes to like get out, but even like, a week on a beach, I'm like, all right, like I really want to get back to like where things are happening.
I'm the same way. Yeah. These guys who need like downtime and peace and quiet, I can recharge in a day, and then you're there for another week.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah. Now for me, New York, I've always loved going there, but to me, it's a visit town for me.
I got you.
Like,
that makes sense.
Also, like the whole thing is like you guys, it's like you live hard.
It's not smart. I get it. I totally get it. When friends come there, they're like, the subway was late. Then there was a guy jerking off. It's freezing cold. My hotel room. I open the door and I hit the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. It's
but you love it.
But I love it. Yeah. You're
yeah.
not meant to live like that. But it's just. I don't know. It's just something about it. I get that energy in me, and I'm like, all right, I'm back. The New York
I think
groove.
if you get something out of that city, like if it feeds you, leaving there is kind of like, oh yeah,
it's terrifying. Terrifying. And like I went to Austin, a couple weeks ago, and you're like, this is crackling, it's bubbling up. Then I went to Miami, and you're like, this is unreal. The sun is shining, everybody's happy. But again, I don't care about the beach.
Yeah.
The beach does nothing for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like LA, I've lived here a long time. I love LA, but I don't have that like, that feeling that like I can't, like if I leave LA, how do I operate? I just have to go to another city,
right?
Where like things are happening, where there's life, there's restaurants, there's a scene.
Yeah,
as long as there's that, I feel like I can live there.
Yeah, like we do the road. You've been to those towns where you're like, I need a fucking iPhone charger at 2 a.m. and just you're fucked.
Oh yeah.
And your phone dies and you're like, well, this is weird.
Yeah, no, I literally just had one where I was like, I need an iPhone charger, and they were like, the person at the hotel. I'm like, well, where do you get it? And they're like, I don't really know. I'm like, don't you have one? And
right.
They're like, yeah, but I don't remember how I got it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I know. And they're like, I have a sidekick still. And you're like, what? Yeah, it sits on a cradle. I'm like, a cradle?
The weird thing is, too, if you do the road a lot, like sometimes you meet people and they're like, they'll say about their town, they're like, yeah, it kind of sucks here. And you go like, you can leave, right?
I never got that.
And they're like, yeah, I wouldn't know like where to go. Or I'm like, there's a fucking whole country. Like you pick any place. And
I know.
Like, and then you see them like, yeah, I guess I could. You're like,
yeah. They're scared. Like I have friends who never left the country. They're like, ooh, Canada. I don't know. I got to get a passport. And do they speak French? What color are they up there? I don't get it. And you're like, just go.
You ever realize a friend hasn't been on a plane?
Yeah, that's a weird
It's so funny when you're like, yeah, so you're going to go, and they're like, what's it like on the planes? And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, you haven't been on a plane? They're like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
You're in your 30s, man.
I know. You've done heroin.
Yeah.
And you've never been on a United flight?
Yeah. I had a friend who was like terrified of it. I guess he was in his 20s still. And he goes, so like, I don't know, I'm just kind of scared. I'm like, because of like the barrel rolls and stuff. Mm-hmm. He's like, what do you mean? I go, well, sometimes they'll do tricks up there. And he totally was like, no. I go, yeah, man, it's fun. He's like scared of it. And I was like, dude, they don't fuck around.
Or this guy, well, I don't go on a plane. 9/11, man.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you live in the projects, Like, come on. Go nuts. You don't wear a condom. You have 6 kids. You have VD.
You're crazy.
Yeah, you're already crazy. Don't worry about terrorists.
So you're going to stay in NYC, though.
I guess so. I mean, the taxes are going up. I mean, I don't know anything about business. You're a good business guy, but like Biden goes, hey, we're going to spend $8 trillion on this. I'm like, where do we get that? Do we make that? How does that work? NFT? I'm clueless.
They will. They're going to raise federal taxes, so that means like all of us will pay more. And then states like California, New York will raise the state income tax. Well, they're proposing it. It'll pass. It always passes. So yeah, they'll pay more, and then they'll tax people who do well.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're always in a deficit in this country. Like, you look at like the national. Can you look up what the national like deficit is right now? Because it's always astonishing number. Like it's numbers that you can't comprehend.
Yeah, and then I'm like, what?
$3.1 trillion in 2020, more than triple the deficit for 2019.
Is that China? Do we get that from China?
I mean, we owe them a lot. I don't know.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
But then you think, okay, well, our country is falling apart, racism, whatever the hell, kids in cages. But then everybody's trying to get in here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
I don't get anything.
This episode is brought to you by our partner, Whoop. Whoop is absolutely amazing in that it gives you insight into your body that you would otherwise, there's no way you would know this stuff. And the reason is there's so much interaction between you and this thing. It's reading what you're doing as far as strain and recovery and sleep, but you're also putting in information. You can put in, that you had alcohol this day, or maybe you had marijuana, or, you're having a lot more caffeine, and you're seeing how all these things affect you and your ability to put strain on yourself, or your ability to sleep and recover well. It's all detailed here. You see daily reports, weekly reports, monthly reports, see how you're doing throughout the year. It's incredible insight, and it's all about you. It's like having this like stock market portfolio, but you're the actual stocks, It's incredible. For our listeners, if you're thinking about giving Whoop a shot, there's no better time than today. You can save 15% off of Whoop with the code BEARS. Go to Whoop, WHOOP.com. Use the code BEARS at checkout to save 15% off today. Know yourself with personalized recovery, strain, and sleep insights from Whoop. We are supported by ExpressVPN. You know what's not fair? The fact that Netflix hides thousands of shows and movies from you based on your location, and then has the nerve to increase their prices on you. That's right. They just raised their prices once again. Now, you could just cancel your subscription in protest, or you could be smart about it and make sure you're getting your full money's worth by using ExpressVPN like I do. See, you might not know that what's on Netflix in your country is completely different than what someone else is seeing in, let's say, the UK or Japan. Using ExpressVPN, you can control which country you want Netflix to think you're in. It's a little workaround, and they don't like it. But ExpressVPN has over 90 countries to choose from, so every time you run out of stuff to watch in your country, just pretend you're somewhere else. Also, you can hide all the porn searches you got going on. So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/cave. Don't forget to use our link so you can get 3 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/cave, expressvpn.com/cave to learn more. Yeah, I have cousins in South America who are like, I think we're going to move to the States, because honestly, it's as crazy as everything you just listed sounds. You forget how much worse it is in other places.
Right. And I feel like some queefs on Twitter need to start admitting that.
Yeah.
Like you're bitching and moaning about how bad America is. And look, I'm not some patriotic weirdo, but I'm just saying, all you do is bitch and moan, but you got this great apartment with air conditioning and a nice car and streaming video and Grubhub and Grindr and all this shit.
We're lucky. We're lucky as fuck.
We're lucky.
Here. Yes.
And no one will admit it.
I know, because all we do is complain in this place.
Yeah, that's all we do.
And at least if you're going to complain, be a fucking comedian. Be funny about your complaints.
Right, here.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
true.
The people who just bitch and moan about every fucking thing, about every little... Yeah, like
I'm with you.
You can have coffee delivered.
I know.
It's like, it's a fucking amazing place to live.
It's incredible, and there's an escort in the phone book. I mean, everything you want is here. And I don't think we're as racist as we say we are. It's like, well, then why is Oprah doing so well? And, Jay-Z seems fine. I don't know. Maybe you're racist and you got some shit you got to deal with. I don't know. I think the more Nigerians have moved here than black people were enslaved. That's kind of fun.
I didn't know that.
And then
that's a stat?
That's a stat. Look it up there, Jew face. And then I think everybody's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Like poor people have 2 flat screens and 3 Hondas and 8 phones.
Yeah, you're right, man.
I don't get it. And then people hate rich people, but then they pay more in taxes.
This is what fucking kills me.
And then they go, we need their money. I'm like, but I thought you hated them. But now you're glad they're rich? I don't get it.
People that hate the rich also never admit that they aspire to be rich.
That's another thing.
Yeah, or people are like, oh yeah, you with all your money, or like people say it to me.
Right.
I'm like, first of all, I don't know how wealthy you think I am, but also, that I've been broke a lot longer than I've been successful.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
they
I was
never factor that in.
Super broke for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, struggling to come up with my $600 for the rent.
Right.
It's like that was a struggle for years.
Of course, and not to mention this was a gamble. I took a shot that you didn't, so fuck you. I went 10 years of open mic and the road and losing money and eating ramen noodles and all that shit.
The other thing that bothers me about the racism thing in the United States, racism exists and there are racist people, and like you said, like I don't know to what degree we should label the amount of racism, but I hate that people fail to recognize how much racism exists in other countries in the world.
Oh, they're throwing bananas on the field in soccer.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Or like in my own family, like my mother's family is from Peru. She's from Peru. You go down there, and the minority is white. The majority is native, right? Like what we would call like Indian, or we used to call, right?
Sure.
And so like Native American, that's like
indigenous.
And like indigenous people, exactly. Dude, the white people down there are so openly racist, but then they'll be like, you guys got a real race problem in the United States. I'm like, no, dude. Like, you got a problem here.
Yeah. Then we do that weird thing where it's like now whatever the hashtag is, the news just leans into that and they forget about the other shit. The news is very dangerous. They'll be like, stop Asian hate. So here's a bunch of Asian people getting beat up in New York. And then you're like, my friend's a cop. He's like, well, they're beating up all these other people. Like this old white lady got stomped on by, a crazy guy. And they're like, don't put that out. We're on this one now. And you're like, I know, but she's a person too. Yeah, I don't know.
It's all bad. Weird. We should all be against
all bad.
Assaulting people.
Yeah.
That's always bad.
And if we're all equal, then stop picking the race du jour. I thought we were equal.
Right.
But hey, what the hell do I know? I was molested by Cuomo. I don't know. It just seems like the news is dangerous. They're feeding us all this shit, and people want to be mad, so they buy into it. And no one looks. It feels like the news. You gotta Google 8 different channels now just to get the kind of kernel of the truth.
But that bums me the fuck out because when I grew up, you basically could trust the nightly news.
Yes,
you had Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw, and Dan Rather.
Yeah.
And basically you were like, these are nice old white uncles of mine. And they would just like read prompter.
That was
Here's what happened. And then a report from the field and back. CNN started with just round the clock prompter reading.
That's what it is.
You didn't know their personality.
Right.
You didn't know like their interests.
Yes.
Like I was like, who gives a fuck about this person's interest?
I know.
And now all like CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they all have a total agenda, and they're like, do you want this type of news?
Right.
Then watch our program. You're like, no, I want you to read the objective, like, here's the story.
Exactly. You never got any emotion out of a news. He'd be like, whoa. Every now and then you're like, whoa, well, something's up here.
Yeah, something's up, yeah.
Like a terrorist attack. Oh, boy, this just in. And that was new, or now it's new to get this weird, like, and God damn it, my kids. And you're like, what? You're a newscaster.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, I remember like a transition and kind of happening when, so CNN was round the clock, just news.
Yeah.
And then Fox, what happened was they actually figured out that if they did like personality driven and feed an audience, and that it would bring in numbers, which it did. And they started to just clobber CNN.
Right.
And then I still remember like watching, if you watch like old Anderson Cooper stuff, it is just reading prompter.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Before and then we knew he was gay even.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't know anything about him.
You didn't know anything about him. And it was like 10, 12 years ago where I remember watching just CNN on, like, watching the news, and like he had like just personal, personality stuff in this news report where he was like, I don't know. I mean, when I go there, I kind of just want to be able to sit down and not have to. I'm like, why is he like talking like on such a personal level
Yeah.
during this news report. And then it was like a slow thing where you go like, oh, they're trying to match what their competitors doing now. Like show personality, have like a leaning agenda. So they started to lean left, you know? And then it was like, oh, so now, like you said, you got to search stories outside of the United States to find out what's happening in the United States.
It's crazy. And how fun would it be to take a CNN anchor and be like, I want you to admit you're ripping off Fox.
Oh, yeah.
They would no, we hate them. They're the enemy. Like, but you're kind of doing
that thing. Yeah. Like now, if you travel, especially you're abroad and you watch like BBC News, they're like what we grew up with. They'll be like, you know, this morning in the United States, and they just read a story. And you're like, oh, that's what's happening in Dallas today. Okay.
Yes.
But I had to go to London to find out what's happening in Dallas.
It's scary, man. It's weird times, and I think that's why everything is so splintered now. You know, before it was like, beep, 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 beep. Uh-oh, shut up, the news is on.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now I hear like, you know, hey, this is racist, or this is sexist, or this is whatever, there's a hate crime, and I'm like, I'll figure that out later. I don't even buy it anymore.
Yeah, you got to figure it out. But also, it's such a bummer because you go, you know, I feel like someone's just watching this and reacting to hysteria.
I know.
You know, I mean, like, I never heard, it used to be like you knew like one conspiracy guy.
Right.
And you're like, this fucking psycho. And now it's like a segment of the population.
I know.
It's like so many people that like, you know, like, there wasn't like that big of an anti-vaxxer thing. Those were like considered just lunatics.
Yes, exactly.
And now it's like the people are like openly like, yeah, man, fucking, I don't want to take that shit. And you're like, why?
So true.
Like,
I'm in QAnon now.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm in. But the other thing is like, you're right about the emotion thing. Because you see comedians, they'll write a joke and get no love. And they're like, I'm going to write about when I got diddled. Mm-hmm. And then people are like, "Oh my God, are you okay?"
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, I got something here."
I got something here. Yeah.
So now the ha is gone, but we got the support thing, and that's kind of comedy went that way for a while.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, we're like away from jokes.
Yeah. Jokes. I know.
You're a really good joke writer. You're like
thanks,
a pure.
man.
I feel like you and Sam. You do a pod with Sam Morril.
Yes.
What is it? It's we might be drunk. Also, just like pure joke writers. I wonder if like being in New York fuels that in a way.
Well,
that it's like that type of audience.
Definitely.
You know?
Quick. We have ADD. We need, it's a New York minute, you know? So you got to have a punch. And then you come out to LA and you're like, wow, I just got lost in this guy's story and it had a big ending. And I'm like, I don't have the courage to like sit in a story. I went for Bill Burr once years ago and he was like, hey, you got good stuff, but like, you got to start blowing that stuff out and getting into stories. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And I tried it, and it went horrible, and I wasted 10 minutes, and I just went back to jokes.
Well, I mean, you do jokes really well, so I don't think you need to. You don't need to.
They're so hard to write. It takes me years. You know, you write one joke, and you're like, oh, that was 11 seconds.
I know. You know? I remember talking to Jesselnick about it one time. About he's like, yeah, you know, I have like 60 jokes when you tell a story.
I know. Yeah. And I'm so jealous, but I do love a good zinger.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's no like, as great as like great stories are, and like I do a lot of stories. I feel like even in my own act, I look forward, like when I go like, oh, I have like these jokes around this story. They're fun to tell, and I mean, everybody appreciates a great line.
Of course,
it's like a great setup and punch.
But well, two questions. One, do you ever have that story? Have you ever had a story that just you had to give up after like a year of trying it and you're like, it just isn't hitting, but you wasted all that time on it and you just gave it up?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. And also,
that's terrifying.
So there's also there's this one story where I was touring with it. I shot it in a special 2 specials ago. And then when I did the edit it down, I was like, yeah, cut it. Like I just didn't love it enough. Mm-hmm. The next special, I shot it again.
Wow.
And I cut it again.
Wow.
And then so now I'm touring again and I have the story that I've cut twice.
Yeah.
So now I made it like the story is better.
Of course.
Now.
Yeah.
Because every time that I've kept doing it, it gets a little bit better.
All that honing.
Yeah. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll keep it in this time.
Ooh.
Like, I don't know. Like I started closing on it. So I'm like, oh, this might be the time that it's ready. But it's like, it's something that I've been like working on
Of
for like
course.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Like getting the story right. But I've had other ones where you go, you know what I hate? I hate doing stand-up where you go, you get like, I mean, if to kind of give it a reference for people, you know, a killer line is like a 10, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like, you know, a 5 is like chuckles.
Sure.
And I hate having a line that gets like a 5 or 6 and then just being like, I'll just keep telling it like that.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm with you.
And then you go, and then like after a few months, you're like, fucking change the line.
Yes.
Like, you know, change the line. And then you start to, and then you might on a show try a line and it gets like a 3 and you're like, oh fuck, I'll just go back to that 6.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
But then if you get loose enough and you're willing to risk enough, you can make it a 10.
Right.
You know,
right.
but you have to be willing to eat shit.
That's so true.
And that's
but
hard to do.
This is why you're up here, because you're a cut above, because a lot of people get that 5 and they go, hey, it's still a laugh. Like a 5 is something, but you know you got to tweak it. And that's A, why you got to get up a bunch and run it a bunch and fail a bunch.
Yes.
And B, why a special should take a little time. You know, these guys like, I do an hour a year. You're like, you're not Louis. You're not jerking off.
Yep.
You're full of shit. Like, just get better. Do it longer. There's no rush.
There's
I know
no rush.
the special is so enticing to people because you get all the accolades and the buzz, and we got a press tour and all that. But like,
what's better than getting a special is getting a special that's fucking awesome.
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
Take your time and make it work.
Take your time.
You got to do the club spots.
You got to do
learned.
it.
That's
you
what I've
gotta
learned.
Do it.
You can do. What happens is if you insulate yourself into the big shows, you lose that kind of like connective tissue.
Yes.
That you get in a club that you can't mimic, because the bigger the stage, the more it becomes a presentation of your act.
Aha.
You know, it's like if you're doing an arena, you might as well be on a DVD.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And you're presenting it. But clubs are the only place where you can really fuck around, really try shit. And that's the thing, in a club, if you try a line and you bomb, it's like, you know, you acknowledge it and you kind of you can make it a thing.
I love that.
In a theater, it's different. You know,
you just
like,
keep going.
Yeah, you kind of got to be like, and you're kind of like, I mean, there's 3,000 people there. You can't be like, hey guys, you know. But it's 150 people. It's like it's engaging and it's how you make it work. I don't know.
But that's what's great about comedy is like there's some musicians not like ping. Oh shit, that was bad. Hold on, let me get back. Santeria or whatever the fuck, you know. You got to just keep going, but we can address, and that's the whole essence of comedy is that honesty and that keeping it real thing.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets weird when comics are like up there being preachy, and that's why the angry comic I never really got into, because I'm like, are you that mad all the time about this?
Yeah.
Come on, you're full of shit. I get it, you're performing, but like, you're talking about candy corn.
Right.
You know? But my second question for you, because I'm fascinated with the story stuff, what happens when you have no story? You don't really drink. You're a married guy or whatever. You married? Yeah. You got kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jim Jeffries said no great story ever started with I ate a salad.
Right.
You know? So do you kind of get into an accident on the 405 and go, all right, this could be something?
Well, that's actually a really good question. So it happens every time a special comes out, but now the feeling is familiar. So which is like, it's always daunting and you're like, fuck, what am I going to talk about? But then you go, this is how I felt last time. And I figured it out. So that part comforts the feeling of despair. And then honestly, the thing that helps the most is talking to somebody that you really click with.
Yes.
Who knows you, knows you. And you start going like, they go, you studied abroad, right? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, where'd you? And then I start going like, I remember this and I remember that, like when I was in Spain, and then I'm like, oh, I had this job. I was in Boston for like 8 weeks, and so you start telling stories to a friend, and you start basically mining for things like that,
right?
And then I balance that with what's happening in my life at the time. So like right now, I have a 2 and a 5-year-old, so like I have 10 minutes, from them. And then it's basically a back and forth of like old stuff, like old thing what story hasn't happened, you know, a story that I haven't told yet, and then current stuff that's happening.
Wow, jeez, I got the whole formula there.
Yeah, and then I try to do a little bit of topical stuff too.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah, so it's like that's kind of like, I don't know how I build it.
That's one thing I will say as a joke guy, I can kind of pull a joke out of thin air, not thin air, but like, oh, that's weird. You know, you're at the coffee shop, you're like, what's weird how people do that, and then you write it down, then it becomes a bit. But I feel like the story stuff kind of has to be an event, like something had to happen.
Yeah, something has to happen. And then what ends up happening is like, and Bert is actually really good at this, is that because he's a great embellisher and exaggerator.
Yeah.
He'll take the roots, like this is the, the blueprint of a real story, but he just punches it up so crazy with like, details that are fabricated or exaggerated, but like that, because he's like a fantastical storyteller.
He's good.
But it's like, it's almost like, you're like, did that really happen? He's
fantasy.
like, who cares?
Right. This is entertainment.
Right. So mine is more like rooted in reality. And so like, I just have to like basically keep trying lines. So it's like, it's jokes within a story.
Yeah, you are writing.
So you're writing. Yeah. But it's like, sometimes I'll tell that story and I'm like, well, it just feels like there's nothing, oh my God, like there's not that big line. So then I start going like, well, where could lines go?
Right.
Like joke lines go.
Yes. See, that's the important part, because some schmuck in Idaho is like, I got stories.
Yeah.
And then he goes up and eats shit, but he has maybe a big ending. It's that middle, that's the professionalism.
Yes. Yeah. And like finding jokes in the little nuances, like, because I also like balancing subtle jokes. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, it's not a punch in the face. You need the punch in the face somewhere in your story.
Yeah.
The big line.
Of course.
But I like having the little lines throughout. Like you do a lot of like little lines. Like,
yeah.
It's almost like a throwing it aside, but it's actually the joke.
Yes. Yes.
So like having those in, I think, makes it work. I don't know.
I agree. Well, I'm worried we lost half the crowd with our joke jizzing, but
go fuck yourself.
Epstein's innocent. I don't know. I'm just trying to say something to get him back.
You did something, by the way, because I've said this on multiple podcasts, how much I admire the guys like yourself who did the self-release special.
It was a failure, but it
wait,
turned into something great.
Why is it a failure?
Well, nobody would buy it. I tried. I was doing this act on the road, and it was really clicking. It was hitting, and I was like, I got something here. And I'm a big comedy nerd, and I'm hard on myself. And I was still like, this is a solid hour.
Which, by the way, sorry to cut you off. I remember being in a green room with Attell opening for him one time, and I go, it's about what you're saying. I go, everybody started doing albums.
Yes.
This is like 2005, let's say.
Sure.
So I go, somebody asked me if I'm going to do an album. Should I do an album? And he goes, do you have an hour you're in love with?
Oh.
And I go, no. And he goes, well, there's your answer.
Wow.
So it's like, do the thing when you go, this is something.
Yeah.
So I always remembered that. So whenever they go, do you want to do a special? I'll be like, not yet. And then I'll make a call. I'll be like, hey, we can book it now.
Right.
Because now I feel like it's solid.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, so you feel like this is something.
Yes, but Attell, I tell your story all the time. Like, what do you want to be, an actor? With you and Attell.
Yeah.
That shit hit me to my core, and I heard that 6 years ago, whatever that was.
That was so demoralizing.
Oh, dude, I think about that all the time.
This was, so he requested me.
Yeah.
Which was like.
That's huge.
So this was the first time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to feature for Attell. And the next year, they're like, Tell's coming, he asked you if you would do it. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I did like 2 of the same jokes.
Oh my God.
From the previous year. Yeah, and he was like, what, do you want to be an actor or something? I was like, what? And he was like, I mean, you don't have a new 20 minutes? And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I want to die.
The king, the funniest guy on the planet. It's like, you're not a comic.
Yeah, you're not really working.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, yeah, I have a job though. I wasn't a full-time guy.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, that was so painful.
Whew. Yeah, I think about it. When I'm like, I'm not going to write today. I think about that. And I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm back.
Like, I don't want to be a fucking actor like Tom. So, we are supported by Raycon. Whether it's for work or play, a lot of us are going to be on the move again this summer. So my advice to you is take your Raycons with you. I mean, I pop them in if I'm going for a walk, if I'm getting on the elliptical, if I'm going to be riding public transportation, if I'm going to the airport. I love music and podcasts playing all the time. You get crisp, powerful beats at half the price of other premium auto brands. They look great. They feel even better. Super comfortable. Come in a wide range of colors and with customizable gel tips included for a comfortable in-ear fit. Super comfy, built wherever you go. Seamless Bluetooth pairing, and I mean right away. None of this like, what do I got to hold on? It's there. Listen up. Raycon's offering 15% off all their products for our listeners, and here's what you got to do to get it. Go to buyraycon.com/bears. There you'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order, and that's such a good deal. You'll want to grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/bears, buyraycon.com/bears. We are supported by Public. Listen, it can be overwhelming and intimidating to kind of step into the investment world, stocks and bonds, right? You see these Ivy League guys on the shows, buy, sell, short, squeeze. Like you don't even know what's going on. These people at Public, they realize that the stock market is made for public trading, so it should be more accessible for everyone. That's why you can join Public.com, the investing social network where you can buy stocks for any amount of money and share ideas with a community of investors. I think it's really cool that you have other people you can chat with and you feel like it's not somebody lecturing you. It's like another investor like you. The app is free to use. There are no minimum accounts to get started, and they have fractional investing. You can buy slices of stocks with any amount of money versus the full shares. So you can get started with as little as $1. Public.com takes the responsible approach. They don't promote risky or gambling-like behavior, offer complex trading tools to beginners, and they don't encourage day trading. Go to public.com/2bears to follow me on public.com and see what I'm investing in. You can start investing today with as little as $1. You'll even get a free slice of stock when you join. Just go to public.com/2bears to download the public.com app. Valid for U.S. residents 18 and over, subject to account approval. See public.com/disclosures, not investment advice. So wait, so yeah. you say I got something. Do you call an agent and go like, can we get a special? Like,
yeah, all that. I had the tape, the DVD, whatever it was, the link, and I'm at the Denver Comedy Works ripping it, and they have a camera, so I'm like, give me that footage. Saturday early show is the best show. Here, you take this, send it to Netflix or HBO or Amazon, whatever it is. And they were like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. We like you. You get that email. They're all big fans. They love you. Yeah. And you're like, they don't love me. But whatever. So then I thought, all right, that's not working. And I just kept doing that hour. Now it's getting better and better, like your story. It's just honing and honing. So it was almost like, well, maybe it was for the best because now it's even better.
Yeah.
And then I said, I bet if we film it, they'll buy it. Like if we do all the work for them, like the cameras and the lights, and we rent the theater and we fill it up and we color correct it and sound all that shit. And I was like, all right, let's do that. That's the next goal. So then we did that. I spent all my money, doing that. Still didn't buy it. And so I said, well, I'm not going to throw it in the garbage. So, and I'm embarrassing myself when I go back to Denver 2 years in a row and they're mouthing my jokes.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that hurts. I gotta write a new hour, so I gotta put this thing out. So YouTube is the only other option.
And now you're approaching 7 million views.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. So if you haven't seen Out to Lunch, it's on YouTube, and it's a great special, man.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
It's so like I actually because I love I consider it like a real entrepreneurial move, and I love that because I feel like a lot of comics don't acknowledge or even realize that we're all entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
Like you're running Mark Norman comedy business.
Exactly.
So
completely.
Like to do that, and then like obviously it worked because a lot of people watched it, a lot of people buy tickets to see you now. So like that is the path you want to be on.
Oh really?
For sure, man.
Oh well, that means a lot. Thanks. Because my mom is still like, oh yeah, what does YouTube pay? And you're like, well, it's kind of it doesn't really pay. It's not like a network like that. And she's like, it doesn't pay. And you're like, no, you get like a check every month for $800 or something. She's like, oof. And I'm like, no, it's got views. She's like, well, how long do you have to watch it to get a view? And I'm like, Jesus, whore, you're killing me. But yeah, maybe that's why I'm a comic. But yeah.
Yeah, that is why you're a comic for sure. But I mean, like you did like the difference is you doing that. The other side of it is somebody who's like, I can't get a special. And they're like,
there's that guy.
Oh, there's so many of that guy. And then sometimes he's like, they don't want to fucking give specials to white guys. And you're like, okay.
Right. And maybe if there's truth to that, but you still got to figure it out. Dude, like NWA couldn't sell a record, but they still made it work.
You got to make it work.
Yes.
And it's like you don't make, like things don't happen by somebody being like, people don't want to give me stuff, so I'll just sit here. And you're like, okay. I mean, we know so many comics like that.
That's 99% of comics.
Yeah, and there's so many of those guys are the ones too who you're like, where is that guy? And they're like, well, he stopped doing it.
Yes.
Which was always like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, good.
The only thing you can do is like move forward.
Right.
And like, if an opportunity isn't given to you, you make it happen. And that's what I love seeing that like you Schultz, Giannis, Sam, like you guys all shot things and put it out. I'm like, yeah, that's like, that is it's inspiring, I think, you know?
Oh, I appreciate it. And I kind of am glad it's on there now. I'm glad I own it. I'm glad I get to see the numbers. I'm glad I get to show people and share a link easily. And I get all these emails. I love it. Now I want to do comedy. I showed it to my aunt. I showed it to my friends and all that. So that's all great.
Have you ever gotten the message, hey, man, I love your comedy. I've got a couple jokes if you want to hear them. Like I
get that all the time.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear your joke with 3 N-words in it for no reason. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I had a point and I lost
it. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No, I lost it, but boy, it was something juicy. It's gone. It's gone.
That was my fault.
It's like my boner.
Also, sorry, because we mentioned the one you do with Sam Morril, We Might Be Drunk. You also have been doing Tuesdays with Stories with Joe List for a minute.
Oh, we've been doing that for 7-8 years,
Yeah, so another podcast you can check out with Mark. You toured Europe with Bert.
Yes. That was a tough 2 weeks.
What? What was that like?
Well, Bert called, and Bert's a friend, and you got to hand it to Bert for being rich. He's shooting movies. He's hanging out with Snoop Dogg, and he's still like a normal, nice fat guy.
Yeah, he really is.
And I appreciate that, and I'll never forget it. Some guys, they got one fucking T-shirt sale, and they're like, all right, I'll see you in hell. Like, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
But, thanks, Tim Dillon. But, no, I'm just kidding. Tim Dillon is a very funny gay man. But Bert is super cool, and I was like, he's like, hey, you want to go to Europe? And I'm like, trip to Europe, paid to do comedy, drinking, the whole thing. I'm in. When am I going to Europe?
Yeah.
And it was challenging.
Really?
Well, I like to drink as much as the next guy, but I'm a normal human being who gets hungover and is an introvert and likes being alone and all that.
Yeah.
And Bert's like, drinking all night, shots, eating pizza at 5 a.m., then waking up at 9 a.m., hitting the treadmill with a Coors Light, and I'm like, I'm shitting blood, I'm trembling, I'm foaming at the mouth, I'm in a coke den with 2 naked guys. I'm like, what happened? How'd we get here? And he's like, hey, I'm at the gym, then I'm going to do some promo. You want to be in my video where we roller skate in our panties? I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. This is day 2. And we got a flight tomorrow at 7 a.m. to Copenhagen, and I don't know how we're going to do this.
Yeah, I think about like how I would never be able to tour with him. Like the way that I've done vacation with him, and I did a 1-day trip to San Francisco with him where he picked me up at 7 a.m. with a 32-ounce vodka soda.
There you go.
And then we went to the airport and we went to the bar and they're like, Bert! Like the bartenders were like, Bert! And then
he likes it. We run from that. We go, this guy knows us. Let's go to a different place.
Drinks a couple there, get on the plane. He was like, double and then keep coming.
Yeah.
And so they brought him. And like I'm drinking one for every 2 or 3 that he's drinking.
Yes.
We get to the hotel at fucking, I don't know, like noon or 11 a.m. And I was like, I'm going to go like take a nap.
Yeah.
And I go, what about you? He goes, I'll be right here. And I'm sitting at the bar. And I see him like 3 hours later. And here's the thing. We drank all the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm just like,
yes,
like this. And I go, what are you going to do? He's like, doesn't it feel great? Like just keep that buzz going.
Oh.
And I go, I'm so tired.
Right.
And he goes, oh no, like I feel, and he looks fine.
He looks great.
Fine.
Yeah.
Like,
he's shirtless at a 5-star restaurant, eating steak and taking photos with everybody.
Yeah.
And I want to kill myself. I just want to go home, but he can do it. And you're the whole time selfishly, I don't know, 13 days in, I'm like, he's going to crack. There's got to be some point where he's going to, he's going to fall into a ball of tears at some point, and he never did.
And the energy stays here.
Yes.
Like he doesn't have that that drag. Like
no drag.
No, he's just like, you go, I think there's something to this Mickey Mantle gene, man.
No doubt about it. I mean, when I saw that fat cunt on the elliptical, I was pissed. I was like, God damn it. And then we did 3 shows that night or 2 shows that night, and he pulls it off. Then he sells merch. Then he does photos. Then he signs posters. I mean,
and then he's like, hey, to the audience, do you guys want to come out with me? And you're like, what are you doing? And then tells them all to come to a bar, and then we'll hang out, photograph shots with everybody at the bar. And you're like, how do you do this?
I don't know how he does it, and it's damn impressive.
It's like he has Joe Rogan's drive for exercise for drinking and meeting people. Joe won't miss a workout, and Bert's like, there's no way I'm not going to shake hands and have a shot with this guy.
He's Joe Rogan and Geraldo together somehow, who died of a drug overdose. But yeah, he can do them both.
He can do them both.
And that's why his career is soaring, because he never has to have downtime.
Yeah, no.
And you're a comfort guy, and you have self-esteem.
Yeah.
I have no self-esteem, and I'm fine in discomfort, and I still couldn't hang. Because I was like, I'm built for this. I'm a weirdo who likes to drink and likes to party and can rally. And it was still impressive, and he blew me out of the water, and he's 68 years old.
Yeah. He's on his insulin. He's doing all right.
Like when he's in a Rascal at 98, he'll be racing that Rascal and drinking spiked prune juice and be racing the guys at Walmart and filming it.
Oh, he definitely will be. Yeah, he will be, and he's going to be one of those guys that you're like, how's this guy alive now?
Yeah.
He's going to be in his 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they'll be like, you're alive?
I know. I'm waiting for the selfie where he's pouring Tito's into the IV bag, and he's like, taking his teeth out and shit.
He'll be a fun old drunk guy.
You know what it is with Bert? Now, maybe I shouldn't say this because it's a little dicey, but he has no sex drive.
Right.
I've never seen him, like, he's like, oh, she's pretty or whatever, but he has no, like, I gotta fuck or I gotta go jerk off.
And also, usually alcohol fuels those things. And it doesn't happen with him.
Not with him. He'll fuck a Big Mac up.
Yeah.
But he's never like, let's go to a strip club or a brothel.
No.
He has none of that, whereas other guys, that's a kind of a real crutch.
Yes.
And maybe that's the fuel he's using. He took the sex drive wire and plugged it into his, heart. And it took it out of his dick, and plugged it into his heart, and it's pumping in there. I don't know what it is.
That's so true, because he's never, ever, ever trying to fuck. Like, there's no such, like, he doesn't have any of that, like, the wandering eye. Nothing.
We went to a strip club once, and we just made jokes, and I'd be like, I'm going to go in the back room and get a lap dance from this fat Samoan chick. And he was like, nah, let's just hang out and talk. And I was like, all right. And that's him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have, and I know he's married with kids, but even if he was single, he wouldn't have it.
I don't think so either. No, he definitely would be the type to get into a relationship.
Yep.
And that would be his lady. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he's getting it.
Yeah. Maybe his T level's real low.
T level?
Testosterone.
Ah.
Maybe we should get him checked.
Yeah.
And then we get him on some tea, and then all of a sudden he's just fucking everything in the world. His wife would be so mad at me.
Oh, of course.
You did this with his TRT.
I thought Ari was bad. You gave him tea. At least Ari gave him Molly. That's the other thing. Ari's on Molly. Bert's on Molly. I was at the store with him, and he's just like, woo, let's drink, baby. Yeah, he's high-fiving everybody, watching a game, but there was no like, oh, look at those tits. When you're on Molly, you want to touch stuff and finger yourself, and he had none of that.
It doesn't happen with him, man. It doesn't happen. Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand how his kidneys work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that well versed in, medicine, but I feel like people that really tie one on like he does, at a certain age, your kidneys start to go like, hey, man.
You'd think. He told me he went to the hospital once for like a checkup or something, and they're like, yeah, your cholesterol's a little high. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. What else did they say? He's like, that was it. I'm like, that's just red meat and shit.
Yeah.
What about the booze and the liver and the kidneys and your brain and all that? He's like, oh, I didn't bring it up. I'm like, that's all I want to know about, you fucking booze bag. Yeah, he's a special case, and thank God we have him in the comedy world. Like, thank God he's not just some accountant who doesn't know this about himself.
Yes.
He knew his path.
We talked about like what would be like if we didn't have comedy, what would we be doing?
Yeah.
And like he's like, I would be cleaning boats in Tampa. Like I'd be like he'd be a fun guy.
Yeah.
Flip-flops every day.
Yeah. Throw him a beer, catch it.
Oh yeah.
Shotgun it.
Hey man, there's still some barnacles on this thing. I'll get it, and you scrub them off.
Right.
That would be him.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's probably a couple of these guys out there, this like Super Friends Justice League of crazy Mickey Mantle alcoholics, but he's at least showcasing it to the world.
Yes.
They're probably just, like you said, cleaning boats or, working at a strip club or something.
I would be a fucking miserable cunt for sure.
Yeah.
If I wasn't, because all this rage wouldn't have a place to be channeled
into.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the healthy outlet is getting on stage and getting things out and being, being able to say fuck this and talk shit. That's a really good release for emotionally.
Same here. That's why the pandemic was tough.
Of course. Yeah.
We couldn't get it out and we're just rotting away in our houses.
Yeah, it was the fucking worst, man.
The worst.
Because I remember I went through periods with it where it was like, it was March. And I remember I had dates and they're like, we're going to move them to April. I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, it's cool. I have like a month. This is a nice vacation.
Yeah.
Then that month kind of ends and you're like, so what's up? And they're like, I think we're going to move them to May because this doesn't seem to be like, I was like, all right. And then like by May, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of antsy.
Oh, yeah. You know? Then you hit your wife and you're like, how do we get here?
And we're like, oh man, all your teeth are out now. Sucks. So
I'm with you. And that's why, and this is the point I forgot and I got it back somehow. Yeah. The pandemic, comics kind of had to make a choice. Like, am I going to go all in on pods? Am I going to do videos? Am I going to start a website or whatever the fuck, a web series and a sketch show or whatever? And a lot of them did jack shit and bitched the whole time or turned on each other or whatever it was. And not a lot leaned in and just said, hey, I'm going all in on this, whatever idea I have.
Yeah, dude, yes. And you see the difference is when something happens like the pandemic, something you could never, ever predict or who takes action.
Yep.
And then who does the thing where they're just like, this just sucks.
This sucks.
Yeah, we all think it sucks.
Of course. Yeah. But I'm going to go crazy and I'm sick of watching, fucking Sherlock Holmes on BBC or whatever the fuck it is, and you got to just go into something and put your energy into. I bought a piano. Yeah, I made all these wacky videos around New York.
Do you play piano?
I suck. I play like.
I started taking lessons a month and a half ago.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
me too.
Really?
Well, I'm doing it my own lessons, which is a bad idea because I'm just basically playing Guitar Hero. Yeah. I put my phone up to it and it has like the YouTube. Yeah, and it says BC, and I'm doing that, but it's something.
It's something. It's definitely a healthy. Like I really dig it.
Yeah, me too.
So there's the piano teacher was teaching my kids, and then one day I was like, "Hey, do you teach adults?"
Yeah.
She was like, "Yeah,
retarded ones."
Yeah, like yourself.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, I want a lesson.
Yeah.
And then I remember going like, oh, it's just gonna be like C major, E flat. Like it's gonna be like I was like, I'll just I'll do it just to.
It does suck initially. You got to get over the hump.
She actually was like, oh, just send me what you want to play, and we'll just work on that. And I was like, oh. So I started sending her stuff, and I go, I want to play this, I want to play that. And then she would show up, and we would just work on those. And then as we're working on them, she was like, oh, you should know that like this C, D, E, like basic. So, but the more the focus was on the music I wanted to play, which was like more enjoyable.
Of course.
So then, I don't know.
That's fucking hilarious that you're like, you see the kids, you got it for the kids before you.
Yeah.
Like, eventually you're doing homework where you're like, I should learn math.
Yeah, and plus you walk by them and you're like, they fucking suck.
Yeah.
Like, he's 5 years old. He barely knows how to hit these keys. Like, let me try it.
Yeah, good for you. And as a human being, we have that initial like, this is discomfort. Yeah. I want to quit. I hate it. Yeah. And that, if you can get past that, I think that's like the key to everything in life.
To everything.
Everything.
And discomfort always equals growth. And you gotta stay uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes you have to force discomfort on yourself.
Yes.
Like one of the only constant discomforts you can have, I think, like especially if you're living comfortably, is like exercise.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can be like, you can have a great bed and a great house, and you're like everything's nice, but like if you go to do exercise and you push it to like a feeling of discomfort, just that feeling of like, at least I have a moment of true discomfort.
Yes.
In this day is good for you.
That's so key. I mean, you heard like Wim Hof and all these psychos talk about like jumping in an ice bath right when you wake up and all that. And people go, well, what's the benefit? Is it health? And he's like, just because you did something shitty immediately and now the rest of your day is better and fulfilling or whatever it is. But nobody does it because they're like, what are the results? Can I make money? Does it make me taller? Like, no, it's just mental shit.
Mental shit.
And it's discomfort and getting out of discomfort. And your life goes up 20% happiness.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get shit. Like, all right, if I eat at McDonald's, I'll feel happy right now. But you're like, that's going to fuck you up. You got to do something you don't want to do. And it's so hard for people to grasp that.
It's so true, man. I mean, I feel like this year like is such a focus on mental health and like just health overall.
Yeah.
And, like I've been eating clean and exercising a lot, and the whole time I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that this just makes me feel better.
Yes.
Like eating the egg whites and the chicken and the broccolini and stuff, like even though I wasn't always eating like every time I eat it I'm like, yeah, but I feel better.
There you go.
I feel
it's true.
I feel happier.
Yeah,
you know?
and maybe it's not as flavorful at the time, but hey, this is gonna be better in an hour.
Yeah.
And people can't see that hour.
Yeah, that's true.
They go, no, I want the fucking double down.
Everything's now.
Everything's now.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, think back to when you were 21. That was 10 minutes ago.
Right.
You know, like your kids. Like I'm a big cunt about kids. I'm like, kids. I don't know, the crying, the shitting, the diaper, the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna snap, and that's gonna be over, and then they're gonna be wrestling with you, and then you're throwing a football,
It's
and
true.
then before you know it, they're in college.
It goes quick, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like both these guys feels like babies yesterday, and they're 5 and almost 3, and like you're having full conversations with them, and you realize that the 5-year-old, he's a little dude.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to. He goes to the bathroom by himself. You know what I mean? Like it happens fast, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
And now you probably, like Bill Burr always says, I can't believe I didn't do this earlier. I was scared, and this is like the coolest thing. And you've never loved something like this. Blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
it's rad, and they're like,
Really?
it's really cool. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't do the thing where you're not honest about it. 'Cause,
Sure,
like,
please.
It's super. There's a lot of stress. I remember when Christina was pregnant with our first Ellis, who's 5. I remember that there's this thing because she points it out. She's like, you flipped a switch.
Oh yeah.
Where you went into like I always had a good work ethic, but she was like, you went like crazy with work because you start going like, I have to support,
Yes.
be able to pay for this kid.
Interesting.
So that kind of like a flip kind of does switch on you. And there's a lot of stressful moments, and like, when they're babies, you've never had a baby. You're just like, they're crying and the crying and the sleep deprivation is like,
nightmare.
that's the worst, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, getting over that. I do think that the upside far outweighs,
Okay. That helps.
yeah.
And talk about discomfort, and talk about a new challenge, and talk about
All that.
satisfying. Making a good podcast is one thing. Imagine making a good human.
A good human, yeah. And it's really cool. Like you see your kid develop a personality and like, you do feel pride. Like when you're out and my son's like introducing himself to people, being like, it just kills you.
Anyone else hard?
Yeah.
These kids. But that's
they're so adorable.
That's so nice to hear you say, because all we talk about is like, we got to leave a good planet for our kids. Like, hey, how about we leave some good kids for the planet?
Yeah.
Your kids fucking suck.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to you, dickless. You got shitty, snot-nosed, annoying, unpolite kids.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Dude,
you suck. They don't realize they suck, and then they're making little thems.
Dude, they do, and you realize that like a lot of people are checked out as parents.
Yeah.
I actually was like proud that this guy said this to me. I took my son to get a tennis lesson, and
Jesus, a kid with the fucking activities, the
I
piano.
know.
The
Well, you got to
lessons.
keep. I mean, they're just energy ball. Like he wakes up and runs down. Like my alarm is him running down the hall.
Yeah.
And he comes in. He's like, "Good morning," and you're like, "Jesus Christ, dude."
Is he gay?
I
Good
mean,
morning.
it's like fucking. It's fucking 5:30. Come back in an hour, bro. Like he's
Brutal.
But he shot out of a cannon, ready to go. So we're always trying to burn his energy off. But we took him this tennis lesson, and he was fucking around, And I was doing a lesson on the other court, and so I see him like not doing, and I yelled.
Oh, good.
I go, hey, if you're not gonna fucking pay attention, we're gonna leave here right now. So like, pay attention. And I had to do it like 2 more times. But afterwards, this whole thing was that the next time I had a lesson, it was by myself. The coach goes, hey, I just want to let you know, like you're one of like 2 parents that does that.
Oh, good.
Like everybody else, they'll just see that happening and they don't care. you know?
Wow.
He's like, we talked about how it's nice to have a parent, make his kid pay attention.
Right.
Because he goes, a lot of them, they don't give a shit. They'll just let it happen. I was like, oh yeah, that would make me crazy.
Good for you.
We are supported by Miller Lite. We've all found ourselves in awkward, uncomfortable, forced social occasions where we just can't be ourselves. It's part of life. I have this like when I meet you, somebody that comes to the show or something, and I'm like, oh God, really wish I had a Miller Lite in my hand right now and I could pretend that I'm enjoying this. That's what grabbing beers is for. And the best beer for grabbing beers is Miller Lite. With great taste and only 96 calories, Miller Lite is the one beer that lets you kick back with your friends and just be yourself and leave these strangers alone. Miller Lite is a beer that's brewed for drinking beer. That's what I'm into. A real beer. And that's what Miller Lite is. The taste you can depend on. Miller Lite has been a light beer with great taste since 1975. It's an easy choice. Next time you're getting beers with friends, make it Miller time. Luckily, you can pick up Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer or go to MillerLite.com/cave to find delivery options near you. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
It's weird when you see that guy at the gym with the loud music on his boombox thing and you're like, we don't want to hear that.
How are you oblivious?
Yeah. And that's all. I'm just lifting weights going like, how can this guy, because you hate the guy, but you're also kind of like, man, it must be a nice life.
Oh, yeah.
To just do what you want all the time and not feel that weird remorse or
I think society has like
guilt.
a 50-50 split in people who are, because you ever do that thing where, I remember one time I landed on a flight and the guy like 2 rows over started like on his phone. He's like, yeah, so we just landed here, and like real loud. Mm-hmm. And without saying anything, I look at another passenger.
Yeah.
And we just look at each other and we're like, at the same time, like shake our heads.
That's good.
'Cause I'm like, oh, we speak the same language.
Right.
That this is super annoying.
Right.
And how is this guy this oblivious that no one wants to hear his fucking phone call?
And you know what's interesting is a lot of times I'll have that moment too, and I notice the two people having that moment that you're having are in first class, and this guy's in the back, and you go, maybe there's something to being successful and living a good life when you actually think about other people's feelings, you fucking twat.
Yeah. Well, we were in first class.
Aha! Yeah. You see? And then they go, rich people are evil, and you're like, nah, we just worked hard and have a brain, and we're not fucking selfish douches.
It also makes me crazy. I always think about that. Like you're in a restaurant, and your kid takes a spoon and they'll start doing this. I'll be like, hey, man. Like no one wants to hear that shit,
right?
I don't want to hear it at home, let alone when I'm out.
Right. So, I'll do you one better. When I was a kid, you would yell. Your parents would yell at other kids.
Yeah.
And that you don't see anymore. People
that
like, how dare
happen.
you talk to my son that way, or whatever. And you're like, well, he was, pissing on the laundry or whatever. Like, so we had to do something.
Sure.
So that was good too. I got hit by a friend's mom once.
Really?
Yeah, and I totally deserved it, and I changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore.
No. Well, you know what else is weird, too, especially with white people, is like, we have kids so much later, because we're like, hey, I want to have a fucking life. Fuck you, rugrat, And so you have a kid when you're 41 or 39 or whatever, when, biologically you're kind of supposed to have a kid at 24 or whatever.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of like older parents now who are like doing their thing, and then the kid's doing his thing, and he's just staring at a screen, and they never got kind of the parent doesn't have as much energy to discipline.
Yeah, I mean, I completely would understand that. I think it's like just mind blowing when you hear about like these 60-year-olds, the guy having the kid, and you're like, how are you going to be involved at all in this?
I know.
It's so nuts.
DMX had 15 kids.
He did. Yeah, that's so crazy.
That's crazy.
But you also hear about like so and so is going to be a father, and you're like, this guy's in his 60s?
I know. Mick Jagger just had a kid. He's like 900 years old. It's crazy how people do this, but hey,
I'm sure he'll be really involved.
He'll be involved financially. Like, here you go. Put money in it.
Yeah, here's a check.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, you talked me into it. I'm gonna do the kid thing.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
You got to pick a lady. Oh, you have a lady.
I got a hot lady at home, and she's got ample bosom to feed.
How long you guys been together?
5 years.
Oh, that's a good long while.
Oh, is it?
I mean, 5 years is a good. That's not like.
Don't say that. Now she's like, I told you.
No. I mean, like that's a real relationship. I'm saying.
Yes. It's a real relationship.
It's not like 5 months or something.
No, for sure.
5 years is a real thing.
And I'm pushing 40 here, Fatty. So it's getting down to the wire.
Get her on it, man.
Yeah, and she's ready.
She's ready.
Yeah.
Dump your clip and just see what happens, man.
Isn't it weird that anybody would procreate with us?
I know.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, you're at least successful and somewhat normal. You seem normal for a comedian, I must say.
Yeah, I mean,
you'll probably strangle a dog in an alleyway at some point, but you seem well-adjusted.
Yeah,
Oh, shit, am I missing something?
No.
Did you run over a kid last week? And I think
I have normal attributes. I think just like a lot of people, you have layers to your personality. So
yeah.
I definitely know how to act.
You do.
Yeah, and I know how to behave. And then I have like craziness within me too that I try to channel into, like what we do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like Bert with the sex. pumping it and you pumping the anger somewhere else.
Yeah. I try to. I mean, sometimes it comes out.
Uh-oh. Have you killed like a Jewish kid or something?
That's why I keep hiring them. It's like a guilt thing, you know?
And they don't fight back, which we've learned from history.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe financially you guys will fight back.
Like, I definitely couldn't do the drink thing because I know what, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't.
You'll have a Mel Gibson moment.
I start talking. I'm not an angry drunk. I talk a lot of shit, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm a real shit talker, like, you know, and I'll get.
And we got microphones all over us.
Yeah, so I definitely feel like I do that like once a year.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I'll have a drink, I'll have a glass of wine with dinner or whatever, but like where I really tie one on, it's like once a year, you know?
Damn.
And I try to do it with like people close to me.
Yep.
Hey, man, protect me.
Yep.
You know, like don't let me do anything crazy. Like that
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
know.
Because if I did it like Bert does, for sure I would be dead or in jail. Like for sure.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever have that thing? I mean, we're kind of the same age, and I should be dead just from high school and college, like the drinking and driving, the falling asleep while driving, the waking up in these places. I woke up on the sidewalk once. I mean, yeah, like I should be dead or at least like beat up a lot more.
Dude.
But one time I went to a bar and my friend said it looked like a Marx Brothers movie. Like I was on the table, then I grabbed the fire extinguisher and shot everybody and all this shit. But the craziest thing, my friends were fucking mooks, like animals, you know, football playing, like white guys from the South who wore shorts and tucked their button down in and wore loafers, but fucking went nuts.
Yeah.
And I went out with my friends. We got drunk, whatever. I don't remember anything. I was with my girlfriend at the time. They had to drag me up to my porch at my home, and she's helping, you know, and it's like a Tuesday. It's a school night. And then as a goof, she's trying to get me in the house quietly because my parents are sleeping. And as a goof, they go, "Hey, Norman!" And my girlfriend looks back, and they shoot us both with paintballs and just like light up the house and light me. I'm like,
Oh my God.
I don't remember any of this, but she told me.
So bad.
I don't remember a thing. I didn't wake up. I was blacked out through the whole thing. The house is, you know, the whole thing's yellow.
Oh my God.
And they're like, ah! They peel off in their fucking jacked up truck. And then my dad comes out, and he was a military guy, much like your own. He's like, what the fuck? He's having flashbacks. He's flipping out. So he comes out, and he sees me laying there covered in yellow paint and my girlfriend crying. And he's like, what the fuck's going on? So he picks us both up. He throws me in the, you know, the hallway of the house. He's like, you, upstairs, now. And she's crying. She runs upstairs, and he picks me up and spanks me in the living room. He wasn't a hitter, but he just didn't know what to do. He was like having a meltdown. Spanks me on my ass. I start laughing, and my girlfriend's watching through the railing of the banister of the stairs, and I'm like, you know, my dad's spanking me.
Yeah.
And so he like lays me down on the living room floor, and then he goes, you get down here to her. And he's like, what's wrong with him? Why does he drink so much? Is he depressed? And she's like, I don't know. And then the next day he wakes me up at like 7. I'm like, I can't move. Throws me in the shower with my clothes on, turns it on. He goes, you're going to alcohol therapy or whatever it is. And I was like, what? And he drove me to this lady who like was a doctor and I don't know, had to ask me questions, but I still had, you know, some yellow here and shit. And it was a wild night apparently.
That's pretty wild. I mean, what came of that session or that meeting? Did he follow up like, hey, what did she tell you? Or like,
no, I mean, he was just pissed. And he's like, you're getting a job, you're going to military school, all this shit.
How old were you when that happened?
I don't know, 16, 17.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was right at the cusp of like, you're moving out soon and getting into college maybe. So that was pretty rough, but that was just a random night.
Yeah.
We did that kind of shit all the time.
Dude, I remember, you just reminded me of when I first got out here, like I was an intern at a entertainment, kind of like a place that made movies. They made the studios would work with them to make movies. You know?
Well, what year, what age are we talking?
So I am 23.
Okay.
And you're a free intern, by the way. It's unpaid. You know, they're just using you to read scripts and make notes. One night, some of the other interns and assistants, these are like assistants to like high level executives, like, we're going to go out to this place on Sunset. So I started somewhere else with a friend. I end up there, and it's just knocking him down, just drinking.
Yeah.
So at one point, I haven't started stand up, but like, you know, you have like a little bit of that in you.
Yes, of course.
So we're all at this place called Miyagi's, which was a big like sushi but like party place on Sunset, and we're basically standing in a circle, like this table, and I'm holding court, like telling a story or something.
Yeah.
But I'm hammered, and
by the way, you probably think you're killing, but they're probably like, this fucking guy is a nightmare.
This guy, and then they're about to think it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because as I'm talking, and they had to like tell me this, and like parts, sometimes parts of the memory come back to you. You're like, oh yeah. But one of the guys who I was close with at work, because you're telling this story, you vomit.
Oh man.
And he goes, you vomit, and like an incredible amount.
Yeah.
And you're doing that thing where when you're done vomiting and you're like spitting. And he's like, we're inside a nice restaurant bar. And he goes, you spit like a couple of times. And then he goes, then you stood up and you went right back to your story.
Oh.
And everybody's like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then,
and you're the intern, by the way.
And I'm an intern. And then like I come in on Monday and I'm like, what's up, guys? And people are like, what do you mean, what's up? You're a fucking psycho.
Yeah. Wow, I can't believe they didn't throw you out.
I know. I mean, I ended up getting carried home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing about Bert. I'm waiting for that moment.
I know.
I'm waiting for him to just be on a podcast and you look down and his khakis are getting wetter. And you're like, oh, you're pissing. There it is.
He's like, I just don't know when I go.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just comes out.
I know. God damn. I mean, also, we're lucky that was no cell phone camera. That could have been a TikTok. Any moment of that could have been a TikTok. You getting dragged out, you puking, you spitting. Oh, man. Thank God there was no TMZ. Segura's lost it.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what someone just sent me, by the way? I started to sweat watching it.
Oh, God.
They sent me a set that I did.
Oh.
Like 2 years into stand-up.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I recorded this. And I could not watch it. I started to watch it, and I was like, started to sweat.
And can I say about you, you're one of the rare cases, like, usually you watch a guy's 15-year-old set, and you're like, man, you were so young and thin. You looked like hell back then, and you look great now.
Thanks, man.
You went the other way.
The other way, yeah.
Yeah, you were like a big guy with the weird facial hair.
It's the only advantage to like not giving a fuck about yourself when you're young. It's like I also see friends from high school, and like they look like shit now.
Yes.
Right? And then I look better than I did in high school.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. That's when you neglect yourself when you're young.
Yeah.
You can improve later in life.
I look at sometimes because I'm a big stand-up nerd. I watch everything.
Yeah.
So I watch your old stuff, and I'm like, you can just look at you and go, he'll never make it.
Yeah.
He's so unappealing looking that he's fucked. Like, you looked like a guy who liked wings and tits. That was like your look. Yeah. It kind of had a Vegas-y. There was a shiny shirt involved, and your hair was pointy down.
Yeah, and you're like, this guy's a fucking mess.
Yeah,
dude.
like you're like, I would never hang out with this guy. He's going nowhere. You look like you had flames on your car.
Probably. Let's see. There's some.
Give me a real on stage, like a real.
That's pretty bad.
Oh, that's rough.
That's bad.
There, look at the gold chain, the chest hair. I mean, this guy works at a place called Diamonds.
Yeah,
and it's a strip club.
It shouldn't happen.
On the outskirts of town.
Let's see what else we got here.
Oh,
look how big I am right there.
Yeah, but that's kind of a sitcom.
Yeah, that is
picture.
a sitcom look.
I'm talking, those shiny black shirts and the fun hair.
Yeah,
the gold chain, man.
Oh,
there's a guy. Come on.
You think I like to tell? I'm holding the mic just like him. I'm like,
And then look at that one on Conan. You're like this distinguished dude with the suit and the gray. You look cool as shit. Like that looks like a guy who sells a badass tequila.
Yeah, that is the guy who sells tequila.
Oh, there he is. Look at that one with the green button down there.
Yeah.
Come on.
Was that Ben Glebe?
Oh yeah, but you were still getting laid.
Christina with the bangs. She's got the bangs.
Yeah.
Look, that's me when I first got to LA on the right. On this one, the other one, to the right. That's me when I first got to LA.
Well, that guy's a smoke show.
That's how I got laid at 22.
What happened?
I just fucking neglected myself again.
Yeah, I guess so. Because the one next to it, that's like a before and after.
I know.
Drug use.
That's like, I started doing stand up, and I don't know what's going to happen with my life. This is scary.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But you got good bones. No pun intended. Like you're like a house it was falling apart, but you can see that
when you
good
reduce
there.
all the fat, the bone structure is not that bad.
Not bad, and the eyeballs are gorgeous. Yeah, you're solid.
Yeah.
And as a guy, my hair is thinning, so I let it grow out just to cover.
Dude, do stuff now. This is when you got to do. You got to act now.
But what do I do? I mean, I'm on Propecia.
Okay, at least you're doing that. You're doing
not
something.
enough, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know the thing to do. I just know that like, I almost want to fucking punch the guy that was cutting my hair because I remember when it started. Like I had hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I starting to thin. He's like, hey, you know.
Oh no, fuck that.
And
guy.
I'm like, really? He's like, nah, man. Like, he was doing it to be like polite.
Right.
And then like a year goes by, and now this is it's either this or like a transplant, you know?
Yeah. You don't want to be trans.
So I don't want to be trans. So I am having bottom surgery soon, but I no, it's like now I'm lucky that I have this shaped head.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a fucked up like occipital plate.
Right.
But like, yeah, I can just do the buzz. But this is my option now.
But it works.
Yeah.
It works well, and it's a good head.
But
and
you got nice hair, man.
Oh, thank you. It's going though. In 10 years, I'm gonna look pretty rough, I think.
Well, this is the time.
This is the time.
This is time to reach out to options. Find out what your options are.
Keeps and hymns, and there's all kinds of shit now.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, but like what they all say is like, as you notice it going, you have to do something. If you go like, oh, I'm bald now, they're like, well, yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah, you're fucked.
Isn't it weird we can't fix this though? Like, we got everything.
It's going to be like when we're
Crypto.
60. They're going to be like, oh, just take one pill.
I know. We can freeze eggs, ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got nothing for the hair.
For the fucking hair, man.
But I think there's all these stats though that say like bald shaved head is sexy, blah blah blah.
It's all like people tell me, I get messages, oh, the beard, I love the beard, and then the next person is like, why don't you shave your stupid beard? And you're like, I don't know.
I know. People, they're hard to please.
They're hard to please.
That's why you get married, you lock it down, you move on.
Mark Norman, soon to be a father.
Watch me just shoot blanks now after all this.
All this time.
Yeah.
Couple things you got to check out. You got to check out Out to Lunch, his special on YouTube. Millions of views. You're going to watch it if you haven't. Tuesdays with Stories with Joe List. We Might Be Drunk with Sam Morrill. Super funny guys, and I'm sure the podcasts are great. You do them every week, both a week?
Yeah, weekly. Yep. Tuesday and Sunday they come out, and people are digging it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you for coming today. This
Hey,
was a
thanks
lot of
for
fun.
having me. This is an honor. I'm a fan.
Yeah, well, me too, and I'm so glad Bert's gone. All right.
See
you next time.
Dead after all this.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bert and Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call Two Bears, One Cave. No scripts, a bit of booze, amateur partology. Dirty jokes, raunchy humor, no apologies. Here's what we call Two Bears, One Cave.